Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. As part of START's mission, we aim to promote locally led humanitarian action. We believe that the empowerment of local organizations and countries leads to more impactful and successful interventions. Today, we are delighted to share with you some of the stories and learnings that we gather through our local funds, as well as to tell you a little about the START Fund's emerging service offer for hubs and members. Over the next 45 minutes, we hope to provide you with an overview of START Network's local funds in Bangladesh and Nepal. This session aims to offer you an insight into the START funds and the performance to date. We will highlight their peer support provided between countries, and we will have the opportunity to hear from our colleagues working in the funds and some of START Network's members and partner organizations that are participated in fund governance and decision making. We hope that you enjoyed today's session. If you have any questions for the panel, please put them in the discussion box and we will include them in the session. Now we're going to start with a short video of START Fund Bangladesh.
আমপানে ক্ষতিগ্রস্ত হয়ে এই বাঁধ টোটালি ছিল না, এটা সম্পূর্ণ উত্তোলন নালারা দিচ্ছে দিয়ে আমাদের যে কত ধরনের উপকার হয়েছে, যে বাচ্চাদের যাতায়াতের একটা সুব্যবস্থা হয়েছে। আমাদের এই পাশে অনেক বাড়িতে এখন আর লোনা পানি যায় না,
এই ব্রিজ করাতে এখন তারা এই পাশের লোক ওখানে যেতে পারতেছে। এবং আমাদের এখানে মেইন একটা হাট হচ্ছে ওয়াবদা বাজার, আমাদের পাঁচগাছি বা কুড়িগ্রাম থেকে যাওয়ার একটাই রাস্তা। এবং যা এখন হচ্ছে আমাদের লোকজন এই যে দোকান বাজারে হাট বাজারে মালামালেরা এখান থেকে নিয়ে যেতে পারতেছে।
সিজু সিরিনিও নাই সিজু নরে দলে ঠিক মজি হানা দেনা দিদি পারিব তাই আমার ইয়ে কেন সুবিধা হয়ে দিয়া
এখন এই ঝড়ের পরে কারিতাস থেকে 4,500 টাকা পাই, খুব উপকার হয়েছে। আমার মাইটা প্রতিবন্ধী, আমি সেই মাইটার ডাক্তার দেখে পেতিলাম না, তো ডাক্তাররা দেখে পারতেছি, সংসারে কিছু ব্যয় করতেছি।
স্টার্ট ফান্ড বাংলাদেশে টাকা দিয়েছিল, তা থেকে আমি চাল কিনেছি, আর হলো সেলাই মেশিনে সুতো টুতো সিট টিট কিনেছি, আর ছেলেমেয়েদের অসুখ বিসুখের ওষুধপত্র কিনেছি।
করোনাকে কেন্দ্র করে যে বিষয়গুলো যেমন মাস্ক, হ্যান্ড স্যানিটাইজার, সাবান এগুলো দিয়েছেন, এই জন্য আমাদের গরিব দুঃখী মানুষ অনেক উপকৃত হয়েছে।
অত্যন্ত অল্প সময়ের মধ্যে তারা ক্ষতিগ্রস্ত মানুষের জন্য রেসপন্স করে, এটা অন্য কোনো অর্গানাইজেশন করে না। পাশাপাশি স্টার্ট ফান্ড বাংলাদেশ এই লোকাল অর্গানাইজেশনের ক্যাপাসিটি বিল্ডিংয়ের জন্য কাজ করছে। এই ক্ষেত্রে আইসিআর এর যে টাকাটা রয়েছে, এটা লোকাল অর্গানাইজেশনের ক্যাপাসিটি বৃদ্ধিতে একটি গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ভূমিকা পালন করে। কারণ অনেক সময় দেখা যায় যে লোকাল অর্গানাইজেশনের ইচ্ছা থাকা সত্ত্বেও তার স্টাফদের বা অর্গানাইজেশনের ক্যাপাসিটি বৃদ্ধি করতে পারে না।
স্টার্ট ফান্ডের সহযোগিতায় এসডিএস তাদের কর্মসূচি নিয়ে আসে এবং এক মাসের ভিতরে তারা অত্যন্ত সুন্দরভাবে আমাদের এখানে বাছাই প্রক্রিয়াটি সম্পাদন করে এবং এই কর্মসূচিতে নগদ সহায়তা 3,000 টাকা, হাইজিন প্যাকেজ এবং বিভিন্ন ধরনের বীজ সরবরাহ করে প্রায় 3,500 মানুষকে সাহায্য করা হয়।
আমি ইতিমধ্যে দেখেছি আসলে এটি সবাই নজরে এনেছে এবং কোনো ডোনার এই পদ্ধতির দিকে আগাচ্ছে, যে আসলে স্টার্ট ফান্ডের যে মেকানিজমটা এটাকে তারা ফলো করছে এবং তারা ক্যাপচার করতে চেষ্টা করছে। আমি আশা করি আমাদের ডোনারদের মধ্যে এই সিস্টেমটা বা এই মেকানিজমটা তারা সবাই গ্রহণ করবে। আরেকটি বিষয় যদি বলি, স্টার্ট ফান্ডের কাজ করার মধ্যে অর্গানাইজেশনেরও একটা আসলে ওনারশিপ দাঁড়ায়। সেটি হলো যে স্টার্ট ফান্ড যে আইসিআরটা দেয়, সেটি আসলে তারা যেহেতু লোকাল অর্গানাইজেশনকে প্রায়োরিটি দেয় বা আমরা পাচ্ছি, সে কারণে কিন্তু আইসিআরটা আমরা পাই। আমাদের সংগঠন কিন্তু এই ডিজাস্টারে কাজ করার জন্য স্টাফদের তৈরি করা বলেন, বিভিন্ন ইকুইপমেন্ট কেনা বলেন, এই জায়গাটা কিন্তু আমরা আসলে তৈরি হচ্ছি।
দ্রুত বন্যা আসছে এবং যত দ্রুত স্টার্ট ফান্ডের অর্থায়নে এসডিএস ও রেসপন্সে গেছে, এটা একটা স্মরণীয় ঘটনা। বিশেষ করে উপজেলা পরিষদ আমাদের বিষয়টাকে অনেক অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েট করছে।
যেখানে ম্যাপ টুলের কমপ্লেন্ট রেসপন্স মেকানিজম পদ্ধতির মাধ্যমে আমরা যে ফিডব্যাকটা কমিউনিটি ফিডব্যাকটা গ্রহণ করে থাকি, এই ফিডব্যাকের মাধ্যমে আমরা যখন রেসপন্সটা করি, সেই রেসপন্সের মাধ্যমে মূলত আমাদের কাজের জবাবদিহিতা এবং স্বচ্ছতা দুইটাই আমরা নিশ্চিত করতে পারি।
Here with us, we have Mr. Showfield, Program Coordinator of START from Bangladesh, with 2 representatives from the fund. Welcome. Showfield, I will pass the word to you to present the members and say a few words about the fund.
Hi, my name is Showfield. I'm working as a program coordinator for START from Bangladesh. So I want to give you some snapshot from Bangladesh. Actually, all our members doing hard work and generated the evidence and impact in the localization area. However, I would like to share some key statistics on impact of Start Fund Bangladesh. In the recent past, Start Fund Bangladesh disbursed 80% fundings to local and national NGOs. And in the last 4 years, we disbursed 55% fund to local and national NGO. Direct reach of over 75,000 to disaster affected people from 2017 to 2020 through 73 projects. The time to reach affected community after reaching an alert currently 30 days compared to 20 days before National Fund created. I'm sorry, I'm not on my camera. I'm extremely sorry. Now, I want to also talk about our next 4 years plan. Our target is to reach 1.2 million disaster affected people in vulnerable community. Currently, Start Fund Bangladesh, hosted by Save the Children, and has confirmed funding from FCDO up to March 2022. We are now rolling out and scaling disaster risk financing window in Bangladesh and confirm MACP funding for next 26 months. Moreover, we are expanding capacity strengthening program of local and national NGO and working to grow and diversify membership, including variety of civil society actors. On this occasion, I would also like to say about the LCA grant also approved for the Bangladesh. Beside this, Start Fund endeavors to increase accountability to communities through a set of practical tools. Most importantly, we want to diverse funding to become a dynamic and sustainable pool funding through diversification in program in arenas such as disaster risk financing, anticipatory action, organizational system strengthening. That's the update from my side. Now I would like to introduce with the representative from the Start Fund Bangladesh, Dr. MD Shohiduzzaman, founder executive ESDO, who actually representing Start Fund Bangladesh General Committee, and also Pankaj Kumar, country director Christian Aid, who also representing Start Fund Bangladesh executive committee. So over to Cassandra. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Showfield. That's a really interesting overview of Start Fund Bangladesh. Now we're going to have a short video from our other local fund, Start Fund Nepal.
Nepal, blessed with mesmerizing beauty, the Himalayas, free-flowing rivers and mountains, and flat land. Along with this beauty comes vulnerability. Earthquakes, landslides, flooding, fire. These are the disasters Nepal is facing every year. The humanitarian community and government of Nepal is trying its best to prepare and respond, but the response mechanism can be very slow. To reach the needy immediately, Nepal has established the Start Fund Nepal, part of the Global Start Network adopting localization approaches.
With the support from FCDO and Global Start Fund Network, we together with Start members were able to successfully establish Start Network in Nepal. This is a pilot country-based contingency fund to respond to immediate life-saving interventions and also in anticipation of small to medium-scale crises in the country. This was launched in May 2021 with 21 members, both international and local agencies. This fund definitely will help us to ensure that people affected by crises are supported efficiently, effectively, and appropriately.
This contingency pooled fund is managed by NGOs to provide rapid funding to respond to Nepal's underfunded small to medium scale crises. With £445,784 in support from FCDO, Nepal has started this funding mechanism with 21 organisations. Decisions are made within 72 hours by these agencies, and disaster response reaches site within 7 days. To date, 3 alerts have been raised for flooding. Two projects have been successfully implemented and one is underway. ब्ल्याङ्केट भाँडा थियो
रासन पानी सबै पुरै दिएको सहयोग हामी धेरै दिएको हामी धेरै खुसी लाग्यो सर
नवलपुरमा सबैभन्दा बढी क्षति भएको गाउँपालिका मध्यमा उपसिगुर गाउँपालिका पर्छ र यसको एकदमै ठुलो क्षति भएकै टाइममा क्रीडाक नेपालले चाहिँ हामीलाई चाहिँ यहाँका ती बिचल्लीमा परेका नागरिकहरूको उद्धार गर्दा हामीले गाउँपालिकाले उद्धार गर्ने सँगसँगै नै यो संस्थाले हामीलाई चाहिँ ठुलो सहयोग गर्यो राहत वितरण धन्यवाद दिएका छौँ यो संस्थालाई छिटै गर्नु र यसलाई चाहिँ टाइम गुज्रिसकेपछि गर्नुमा चाहिँ फरक हुन्छ यो संस्था एकदमै समयमा आइपुग्यो समयमा सहयोग गर्यो
With these initiatives, Nepal is trying to pave a new mechanism for swifter response.
From Start Fund Nepal, we are joined by Pramila Subedi, Program Manager of Start Fund Nepal, and Gautam Adhikari, Start Fund Nepal Co-Chair and Representative of Karnali Integrated Rural Development and Research Center. Pramila, Gautam, welcome. Do you want to talk a little more about Start Fund Nepal?
Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much, Cassandra. And I think in the video you have seen so much of the thing about Start Fund, but here I like to emphasize that Nepal Start Fund is in its pilot phase, and we are continuously getting support from Global Start Fund and Global Start Fund Bangladesh, and we really appreciated that. And we are actually, our motto is to establish localization in Nepal, and from the very beginning we are trying to engage and make the member from local and national NGOs from the very beginning. That's why, and we also selected those NGOs in a very democratic way, selecting by themselves. So right now we also have our co-chair Gautam ji, who is from local and national NGO. So I think he like to mention more about how we are going forward with this localization. Over to you, Gautam ji.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Gautam Razadikari, co-chair of Start Fund Nepal and program manager of Kudak, Nepal. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm sharing our experience on behalf of Kudak, Nepal and consortium with ActionAid Nepal. We implemented the second phase project, and we are very happy to be a member of Start Fund. And due to the member of Start Fund, we got a chance to implement the project with ActionAid Nepal and Kudak, Nepal consortium. And it gave us a lots of opportunity to work in the emergency and in humanitarian response and learn many things to implement the emergency and humanitarian response project from Start Fund Nepal. The consortium was guided by the humanitarian signature of Kudak Nepal, ActionAid Nepal, with emphasis on localization, women and youth leadership, and promoting transparency and accountability, which is also the core approach of Start Fund. And well-established relation and coordination with the community-based organizations, local governments, and local NGOs, our consortium implemented flood response project in Nepal in second phase successfully. This project has contributed to strengthen partnership with the local government and also the capacity at the local disaster management committee in localizations of Start Fund. And not cells adhering to the humanitarian signature of Kudak, ActionAid Nepal, and Start Fund, we have added a chapter in process of localizing Start Fund in Nepal. We'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude to funding partners, Start Fund Nepal, local NGOs, CBOs, and local government representative and local business person for their valuable contribution to implement the flood response project successfully. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you for my short speech. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really interesting. So now we're going to go into our Q&A session with the panel. So if anybody from the audience have questions, please put them in the chat box, and then we will include them in this part of the session. So for now, I'm going to start with one question for Showfield and Pramila, and the question is, what were the key drivers for developing a local start fund? Showfield, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so thank you, Cassandra. So there is a couple of issues I can say why we establishing a start fund in Bangladesh. Number one is, Bangladesh mostly impacted by climate change, and due to the climate change impact, we are facing recurrent emergency and disaster, and a small scale, you can say about under radar crisis, and there is no funding. Okay, because most of the cases donor they like to funding bigger emergencies. So in such cases in Bangladesh, most of the emergency underfunded. So that's the one thing. The second thing, I must say, the appetite from the local civil society, like NGO, INGO, national NGO, all came together and they feel about something like we need to do. Then a start network came in Bangladesh and they discuss, and then the Start Fund Bangladesh established. So that's the two key points my side. Over to Parmila.
I like to echo Showfield as well, because here in Nepal also, as you can see in the video, that though it's really beautiful, we also have lots of hazards, challenges all the time, and so much of risk like that. So each time the government have some of the funding, of course, but it is not sufficient, and sometimes the risk or disaster is such that they go underfunded or under the radar they come, so that it is not addressed on time. And also the government also look for humanitarian organizations when they are doing some response mechanism, and the process that takes place is really slow. Like 15 days it might take, or more than in a month, then it will be like funding will come from headquarters and all those things, so which is really taking a long time to respond. And at that time the Start network came as a new mechanism, and all the INGOs and also funding donors also came together, and they feel that this is the right time to have this fund, which can decide in country and by the own people, and they knows their needs much better than any other people. So this fund is, I think, started like this way. Thank you. Over to you, Cassandra.
Thank you, Pramila. Thank you, Showfield. Those are really interesting answers. We have a question from the audience, and this is regarding to the funds awarded to local NGOs. They want to know if funds are awarded directly to local NGOs or if they're going through international NGOs. Since I started with Showfield before, maybe Pramila, you want to start, and then Showfield?
Okay. In our case, actually, Start Fund Nepal, local NGOs, local and national NGOs, they don't have the direct access to funding till date, but we are working towards that to make them how to access directly. But right now they have to go through like national, international INGOs. They will be getting the funding, and they will be local NGOs will only be like implementing partners or supporting only. They don't have the direct access right now in our case.
Thank you. Showfield?
Yes.
Yeah, in Bangladesh cases, in total 26 local and national NGO member of a Start Fund Bangladesh, they directly access fund from the Start Fund Bangladesh. And this onboarding to local and national NGO, the process took around approximately 1.5 years. Extensive, there is a process. Then we Start Fund Secretariat, including those 26 local and national NGO. Over to Cassandra.
Thank you. I have a question for our representatives that are also joining us. So I don't know if maybe we can go with Start Fund Bangladesh first. What is the greatest benefit of having a local Start Fund?
Okay, this is Jaman from USDO Bangladesh. One of the major benefit for the local fund, that is the providing funding when other options are unavailable. And at the same time, in any disaster period in earlier, raise the fund response to the people. It is some difficulties due to the constraint on different types of the official manner. But Start Fund is the pioneer to providing the most appropriately funding to the extreme vulnerable communities within a very shortest time. And at the same time, Start Fund promote of localization, innovations, and promote local actors for their capacity building as well as rightly response to the right places for the right people. That is the largest and greatest benefits for the people on the disaster period when they are facing the most vulnerable scenario. Thank you.
Thank you. Raman, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I think we'll go to now Pankaj Kumar. Pankaj Kumar, I think, not Rahman.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So there are a number of lessons which we have learned from this. Number one, the turnaround time is quite fast, and the reason being is that there is already a prior approval from the government. In context of Bangladesh, if you have to implement any program, you have to take approval, and there is a bureaucratic process. In this case, Start Fund has already taken the approval, so it's become very easy to actually implement it. So, for example, as soon as the proposal is approved, you can see that within a week, the cash transfers happens to the affected beneficiaries. That could be one thing. The second lessons learned is that as many people are talking, and give an example of it, like many localized disasters happen, which does not get in notice with bigger agencies like ECHO or other bigger agencies who funds it. So Start Fund, because the partners, they are able to raise alert, it brings to the attentions. And many times what we have seen is that Start Fund has also act as a catalyst for other donors to do it. So what we have seen is that by the time the other donors respond to it, Start Fund has already completed the response. So it's really immediate, needs are being met. Though the amount will not be sufficient, but it really tries to meet the most vulnerable kind of a thing. And we have also seen example in the last year where Start Fund gave the relief, the recovery and rehabilitation provided by other donors like FCDO or by ECHO. So there have been examples related to it. And the third point is that local NGOs, when they are able to raise alert, they are also able to quickly develop the proposals. The channeling to the headquarters of an international NGO is not there. So it becomes very easier and they can easily submit it. Though there might be a need of a capacity building measures, but we have found it to be very, very extremely useful. Thank you, and over from my side.
Thank you. Gautam, do you want to speak about your experience with Start Fund Nepal?
Gautamji, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I my disturbance here. Can you repeat the question?
Yes,
here?
of course. So what is the greatest benefit for having a local fund?
Thank you for the questions. Yes, especially local fund, having the local fund, there are lots of the benefits for us because when we get the local funds, based on that local fund, we can design the project in ourselves and in the close coordination and collaboration with NGOs and the CBOs. And we also able to engage the other multiple stakeholders in the process of developing or designing this project and mobilize the fund. And similarly, we also we also request the local NGOs and the local governments to allocate the fund to substantiate to provide the further funding or the support to the most vulnerable communities of the affected areas. So that this local funding is provide the lots of opportunity for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have another question from the audience, and this is, What were any challenges that you experienced that you would want to pass on to the next local start fund? Showfield, maybe I'll start with you.
Okay, so very interesting question. I think the key thing is the finding a host who is hosting the start fund mechanism, maybe XYZ country. That's the one question. That's the one challenges. And the second challenges is continuation of funding. If XYZ donor funding to that local fund, so shall it continue or not? So that also need to know. That's the two things from my side. Over to Pramin.
Same here as well. And in addition to that, I like to mention that keeping the momentum from the members and engaging them continuously, that is also a challenge, bit challenging. And also to meet the expectation of the local government, because they have lots of expectations. When we are going for a response, there are lots of expectations. They feel that we can do lots of things for them, but our area is very small and our pot is also very small, so we can't meet their expectation to that point. And keeping the momentum of all our members, having the equal buy-in from all the members at all the times, that is also a very challenging thing. Yeah, that is from our side. Thank you.
Great. We have another question from the audience, and this is more for our START members and local partners. So the question is, what are the major learnings from recent responses, particularly as local actors or partners are into decision-making of START? And so if you want to talk a little bit about the learnings from recent interventions. Gautam, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Thank you very much for this question. We documented some key learnings from this Start Fund projects. Number one, engagement of local governments and support from the local NGO and the CBOs are the important to get the first-hand information and implement the project efficiently, because we had a very good coordination and collaboration with the local NGOs and the community-based organization. We coordinated with the adolescent or youth network, women network, and we mobilized them in the planning phase and as well as in the implementation of the project. And from all members and their understanding of these funding mechanisms and ownership is very important. Another learning. And as we go ahead, we need to strengthen the capacity of the members and the focus on the localization and encourage innovation to implement these projects, implement this emergency project. And with the support and ownership from all, we can make this funding very effective and efficient for immediate response. And beside that, we have to bring all concerned stakeholders, including the private sectors, in the response mechanisms at the local levels. These are our learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, on the context of Bangladeshi national NGOs, one of the major successful example on the response, that is the 100% COVID-19 project accessed by the local NGOs of this Bangladesh. And that is the pioneer example, as because Start Fund Bangladesh and their member organization like ESGO. We are the one of the first initiative created in this country for respond the COVID-19 response, and directly work with the government, support to the government, and in earlier such types of examples comparatively very less within this development arena. And number two, another key learning is that Start Fund Bangladesh have created a new way for the funding modalities within this country. And the local NGOs in earlier, they are not much more familiar with working with the same way like with the INGOs and the local NGOs, the same status and searching the fundings from the equal lots. But through the Start Fund Bangladesh, now we are very much familiar to collect this fund and respond accordingly. And finally, Start Fund Bangladesh is one of the model in our development sector of this country in terms of the different parameters and indicators. For example, a most significant coordination, communication, and collaboration with the government agencies, INGOs, local NGOs, local governments, and created a best example for transparency, accountability, as well as the most successful rapid response on the most systematic manner and transparent way. And finally, Start Bangladesh have empowered the local and NGOs within this country, because we could not imagine that as a local NGOs can evaluate a project proposal of any INGOs. But in Bangladesh, that is the best practices. The local, national NGOs and the local NGOs evaluated the project proposals of any NGOs like NNGOs or INGOs. It creates not only the capacity, at the same time, it's definitely contributed a real development partnership within the development sector.
Thank you. Pankaj, I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Yeah, like one of the, sorry, just put on the video. One of the challenges and the lessons learned is that though we have been able to do it, but if we really want to become Start Fund much more effective, we need to reach NGOs which are present in the marginalized areas, which are small networks or which are women-led CSOs, etc., which has been slightly missing. I think that's something which we should be trying to aspire for it. And when we are talking about gender transformative, we are talking about localization. So I think that's something, the lessons learned, which we have done it and we want to do it in the future. That's one part of it. Second thing, which we have seen as a member, many times, we see that people have raised funds, agencies have raised funds, but they have not learned the lessons from the past response. So we have seen that many times they do it like from repeatedly into the same disasters every year, because Bangladesh has got this history of cyclic and frequent disasters. And there is very less emphasis on the advocacy of whatever the lessons learned. So I think these two lessons, which we feel that should be very important in terms of moving forward. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. There's another question. It says, what challenges have you had around risk management, and what questions have you had about risk from donors, like the UK government? Showfield, can I start with you?
Okay, if I start the answering of the last question, what type of notion we got from the FCD or donor part. So if I understood your question, so definitely there is a question repeatedly asking about the safeguarding. How can we reinforcing the safeguarding issues in a programming? That's the one thing. Then also we are facing some question about regarding the financial risk management, risks of delivery of direct cash within a quick time. That's the one thing. And the last one also, sometimes often we are think in a risk perspective of accountability to the affected population. So that's the answer from my side.
Thank you. Pramila, do you want to tell us how this works in Start from Nepal?
Challenges around management. What is that? Risk management. Okay. The main challenge is about since we are in the first alert also, we have the same problem, like we have targeted for one risk, and then the another risk also come up, which we have not speculated in the beginning. So that was also our problem, that due to different nature of geographic nature and all those things, that when we are going for one risk, then another risk is also coming up. So that is the challenge. And another, like, what question have you had?
If you had any questions about risk from donors.
About donors, like UK. Sorry, my network is not good. I didn't catch you.
Yes, so what questions have you had about risk from donors?
Cassandra, by the time Pramila responds, do you want me to? I would like to respond on this, if that's fine with you.
Yes, of course, go ahead.
Thank you. I think one of the challenges is the safeguarding issue. Many times we see that the safeguarding policies are not very well established, and we see that, the proper, risk is not analyzed and proper risk mitigation is not done. So I think moving forward, I would strongly suggest that, when we do the due diligence, and apart from that, in the capacity building, especially to the local partners, safeguarding should be prominently be featured into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I'll just do one more question because we are running out of time. And the question is, what advice might you have for those thinking of developing local start funds in other locations? And this is open to anybody in the panel who would like to respond.
Yeah, I want to respond on this. Thank you for the questions. More than establishing the funding, keeping the momentum is a challenging. So from the beginning, there should be the engagement of local NGO, coordinations with the local governments, and continuous funding assurance is also needed. And we feel that every country has its own ways of adapting localization. So do not try to replicate, but modify and adapt according to your local context, learning from other countries too. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody from Start Fund Bangladesh wants to comment?
Okay, I just add one thing more. That is, yes, this model is almost very much tested that it's working very regimental way, most successful way, so that it is the real humanitarian fund which work for the remote people. But definitely when we are considering to replicate any other places, it should be needed to considering the context, considering the close collaboration, communication, and understanding with the different arena. But we have some experience also in Bangladesh, the Start Fund Bangladesh, so that some challenges also in here. When we considering to replicate, it should be needed to start from through a registration procedure, because if we are localization the Start Fund in any country, it should be better to smooth operation through the local level registration. It creates the much more enabling situation for continuation, the sustainability, and appropriate disaster response accordingly.
Thank you. Thank you all for these very insightful answers. Before we finish the session, I want to tell you about the Start Fund's emerging service offer. The Start Network Secretariat is evolving into a service provider to meet the needs of hubs and members. Start teams are therefore developing a set of service offers that Start Network proposes to make available for hubs and members. The Start funds aim to support Start Network member organizations and partners to access flexible funding to enable locally led crisis anticipation and response through the development of local Start funds and enabling access to the Global Start Fund. Our team's support to the development local Start funds is expected to include advisory support from Start Fund's team, including peer support through Start Fund Bangladesh and Start Fund Nepal, planning sessions and workshops to map the humanitarian risk landscape and financing priorities at the local level to determine the suitability and design of local Start Fund model. access to information, guidance, and support with regard to Start Fund program operations, award management, risk, and compliance. We would welcome your input and feedback on this emerging Start Fund service offer and would encourage you to visit our expo booth during the assembly to find further resources on Start Fund Bangladesh and Start Fund Nepal. I want to give a really big thanks to everybody in this panel for all of your thoughtful answers and your presentations and videos. That is all from us today. Have a great Start Network assembly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.